it's hard to blow those. The Jets have found ways to do that before with wandering eyes, with, big burly guys barking out things. Found ways. But the point is, today was a win for the New York Jets, and everything is headed in the right direction. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are a team that I fully believe in. And I loved when I heard from Saleh today just about building relationships with players. He was brutally honest about it. That, yes, you work toward building a relationship by making sure the players understand that it's not all just a business, that you do care about them personally and everything that's going on in their lives. But ultimately, the coach's job is what? The coach's job is to help them make plays so that you can win games and get them paid as much money as possible. And I guarantee you this, players respond to that. Chris is in Manhattan. He's next. 98.7 ESPN. Christopher, let's get to your calls. What do you got?
Good evening, Mr. C. First thing, keep the game. You may need to tweak it a little bit. You may need some Final Jeopardy contemplation music if they, definitely some music in it. But keep the game. I like that.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out.
Go into the lab. I think you got it. I think you're good. But moving on to, you made an interesting point earlier when I first turned on the radio about either keeping Sam Darnold or trading Sam Darnold. And one of the teams that you had him traded to happened to be San Francisco. And I thought it was interesting that you had mentioned San Francisco. I don't know if you had mentioned the Colts before I turned on or what have you. But
I did mention the Colts, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed. I think the Steelers are out of it because they just signed Haskins today. But
I wouldn't even say that they're out of it because of that. But
okay, which is fine if we want to go down that road. I trust Douglas and Saleh. The thing with San Francisco that was interesting to me, and I tweeted this out. I don't know, a couple of days ago. If if San Francisco had talks, okay, let's say you're Kyle Shanahan and you're like, oh my goodness, if we can upgrade from Garoppolo and get this kid Sam Darnold, I don't know what they're doing in New York, but we put him here without. If you're listening to your head coach, who's an offensive genius, possibly gush about Sam Darnold, and you're Robert Saleh, and then you go into a meeting with Joe Douglas and he asks you your opinion on Sam Darnold. That's it. And to me, that's quite interesting because it could lead you to you have a great trade partner, but it could also lead you to why would you want to give this dude up? I don't care what these people are telling you about. Look, they may be a little too close to the situation. They may just have fatigue. But if you surround that kid that you got right there, 14, because we were talking about him heavy. And again,
yeah, but the problem is, listen, he's not going to come out and say negative stuff about him. That's not going to happen.
Who isn't?
Saleh's not going to do that. Joe Douglas isn't going to do that.
No. I'm not. I'm saying private talks. You know, so I'm saying, if you're trying to figure out a reason, wait a minute, they kept Darnold. I can see that if you had gone to San Francisco, or if there were talks in San Francisco about an upgrade from Garoppolo, and Darnold was somebody that you talked about and somebody that you liked, it might give you pause to trade him. That's all I'm saying. Or it gives you a perfect dance partner for a trade. So when I look at Rich Cimini, and then I kind of tweeted the same thing. Wait a minute. You might have sat down and listened to Kyle Shanahan talk about Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a thought in the event, because at this point, whatever they decide to do, I'm good with. Okay.
If they are in the thought process of we are only going to do what is in the best thoughts of this organization, they're moving on from Sam. And they're going to help Sam out by moving him somewhere that's better, because I don't think keeping Sam here is truly in the best interest in this organization at this point. I think it's start fresh. I think Sam has the last few years hanging over him. If they do it, I understand that, but I just feel like if you're going to give yourself a chance to start fresh, you're going to give him a chance to start fresh, and then you don't have to worry about any of the baggage that's been there before.
No, I get it, but I also understand that if Kyle Shanahan is sitting there and I can listen to him and he's like, "Ooh, you don't know what I would do with this kid with the line that we have with our running game." I can see him saying, well, you might want to pause on that, and then if you start, as a defensive coach, you probably would have, talked about him. Plus, you also probably would have evaluated, and they're going to evaluate some, not only Deshaun Watson is out of this, that's home run, but you're going to evaluate rookie quarterbacks. But I'm just saying, if I'm sitting there and I hear hey, there's a possibility at the at the end of the season, and this is coming from Kyle Shanahan, please.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate the call, Chris. Thanks for checking in. I think that I was trying to get there with you on that. I know what you're saying. I just couldn't get there. Mark in Newark is next, who hated the game show. Mark.
Hey, Chris, I love you, man.
Hey, all I ever want is honesty. That's it. That's all I ever want.
The game show, when you were doing it, I kept thinking about like the Coyote when he had those rocket jet skates and he skated off the cliff. Exactly. I was also thinking about how that made me laugh in comparison to when you had the Carlin Chronicles and you.
Yes, and those are coming back too. Those are coming back too. Make no mistake.
On the Salah thing, one thing that he said, I mean, who knows, it's a press conference like you said, but what I clued in on when he was talking was he's going to bring in the 49ers defense. He was big on Quinnen Williams and talking about us running that 49ers defense, but with his own tweaks. He said, I forget the word that he used, but it was more like, reinventing or getting better and doing different things with it. And the offense, the 49ers offense really is like a ground and pound play action in disguise offense because they do a lot of pre-snap stuff. So I'm thinking that got the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And I got the guy who's, one of the constructors of that. And,
Well, I think with the offense, you have to be thrilled that he's bringing LaFleur with him. He's bringing a new defensive coordinator with him to run the defense that they want to, but he's not going to call the plays. He's going to be the head coach of the team. And I'm sorry, I've always been a big proponent of that, Mark. I really have. And thanks for the call. The problem is that, so many times we have seen a guy come into a new head coaching job and do just what got them there, whether it was be a great defensive coordinator, be a great offensive coordinator, continue to call the plays on all of it. And you're not, in turn, a great leader of men as a result. I always feel like that, it doesn't create a division, but there is a degree of alienation to it. There is a degree of us versus them, and it especially comes out when one side ain't playing well. I mean, we used to see that with the Giants back in the early 90s, mid-90s, even the late 90s, when you'd have a team that would go out there and their defense, who was pretty good but not nearly as good as they thought they were, would get frustrated with the fact that the offense was playing terribly and couldn't put up points. And the Giants were the only ones. We've seen it with many others. But I have to say that if I'm a Jet fan today, with everything I heard from the guy, I'm impressed, I'm happy, I'm excited. I can't wait to see this evolve. It's going to evolve over time. There are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be frustrating games where maybe he makes the wrong call. But what I'm hopeful for is those are coming in the shorter term. You learn from those mistakes. And then when the Jets are good, that's where you can cash in on all of it. Nothing but time for your calls till the bottom of the hour. We've got Knicks basketball out west in just a bit. Knicks and the Warriors. Pat O'Keefe has got the pregame for you, but it's you and me until then. Load up the open lines at 800-919-3776.
It's Carlin.
And let me just say what nobody else wants to say to you. Your looks have become a problem.
On 98.7 ESPN.
So was that actually A-Rod calling you before?
To rent or borrow
It was not.
furniture and heavy items without
You got to read here in a minute, Chris.
it is work.
1 minute.
Fees and admin costs are scarier than the dingy facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use ClosetBox instead? ClosetBox is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. ClosetBox's background check storage movers are licensed, bonded, and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. ClosetBox's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. ClosetBox has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off.
It's Carlin.
Why is this even a discussion? The man is gargantuan.
On 98.7 ESPN.
233.
Here we go, Chris.
96.
All right, listen up.
Based on 2020 brand image wars from Kelly Blue Book, visit kbb.com for more information.
Hey NYC, if you feel sick or think you've been exposed to COVID-19, the best way to protect your family or roommates is to immediately separate. But in NYC, with our small living spaces, that's not easy. The NYC Test and Trace Course Take Care program can give you a free, safe hotel room with free meals and more, or get resources to help you safely quarantine at home. Remember, if you feel sick, don't wait. Separate. Call 212-COVID-19 or visit nyc.gov/takecare for help.
It's time for some straight talk.
What do we got, people on the stream? Fire away with the comments.
You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/straighttalk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Mornings on ESPN Radio from Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin.
That's what we get for hiring a dude that doesn't understand what being a Trojan is all about.
To Greeny with Mike Greenberg.
It is so clear to everyone but the one person who can do something about it.
Opinions, analysis, and the biggest names in sports.
That's real talk, though.
Get him, Key.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin at 6 Eastern.
I'm here to tell you you're wrong.
Do you see the hard out, Chris?
Eastern. It's
Yeah.
your weekday mornings on ESPN Radio.
Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? They're here, but you can do more than wait for your turn. Here's how. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with, and it's risky to be indoors with them too. And masks? Well, they protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and make a big difference now.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, football fans, when it's game day, there's a Bud Light there. When it's the Super Bowl, Bud Light and 98.7 ESPN are there, teaming up to bring you the ultimate Super Bowl home gate kit. Catch the Super Bowl on your brand new 50-inch television along with a cornhole set, Yeti
What up?
ping pong table.
People can make their comments over in the comment section on Facebook, and it's on YouTube as well. So by all means, check in. Going to finish up with some calls in a second. 800-919-3776. First impressions of Name That Tool. 54% keep it some potential. 46% scrap it garbage.
Find a Bud Light at your local beer retailer or located delivery retailer at budlight.com/delivery.
Coming back here.
All brought to you by Bud Light and your home for the Super Bowl. 98.7 ESPN.
Paul is up at Chris Carlin over on Twitter. First impressions of Name That Tool. 54% keep it, some potentials. 46% scrap it, garbage. It's going to be up there for the next few hours. Go vote. I do need your input on this, including over on the video stream as well, which we've got going, and we've got some of the comments to put up there, including our buddy Steve, who has really summed up today's show pretty nicely. Today's show has been informative, painful, and fun. Listen, you can feel those three things in one day. You've had a full day, and it's been a full show. So outstanding to hear that's been the impression. 800-919-3776. You know, the stuff with Salah that is even more encouraging is really twofold. Number one, what Christopher Johnson had to say about, not just about Salah, but about how the structure of the Jets is now going to be. And this is, to me, it is the most important thing that came out of today's news conference, believe it or not. That you had the owner come out and say, we are changing the structure of our organization where the head coach and the GM are not on the same level. And that's incredibly important. That's incredibly important. You have to look at it from this standpoint. When you have a football guy like Joe Douglas, and you're an owner like Christopher Johnson, and you have just gone through the Adam Gase debacle of 2 years, and prior to that, you had a shotgun marriage between John Idzik and Todd Bowles. And everybody was on that same level when Idzik first came in Rex's last year. It was a structure that clearly for several years did not work. There are teams, organizations where that is useful. This is not one of them. Woody Johnson coming back and being back in charge as chairman of the Jets, and Christopher Johnson being vice chairman, if they're staying out of things and letting the football people do what they do, you have a much better chance at success. You know, they had real success when You let Mike Tannenbaum and you let Rex Ryan do their jobs. And that worked for a bit. And then it got away from them. And then they started changing things up. Let's see if we can make this work here and there. And then Tannenbaum is out, but Rex is staying. And it just became scales that were not properly weighted. You can't have those two guys on the same level when you have an owner that's remarkably inexperienced. Both of them in football and how it all works. And it's not a knock on them. Christopher Johnson or Woody Johnson's owned the team for 20 years. When I say inexperienced, I'm talking about from the football standpoint, not from the business standpoint. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. And yes, while I always want to try to improve, I like to believe I can look at somebody else and be able to tell whether or not they're smarter than me pretty quickly. And generally the answer is yes, and I'm not just knocking myself there. And so I want to surround myself with as many smart people as I can. And when it comes to football, that's what the Jets have done in this instance. Joe Douglas is an incredibly smart football guy. Robert Saleh is an incredibly smart football guy. Both of them have great experience and have grown up in the league. This, I really believe, has the ability to be a dynamic partnership. I really do. The Jet fans have suffered long enough. There's reason for optimism. There are a couple of pieces in place. There's obviously a ton of work to do, but I think you'll look back and realize that we've had a couple of turning points. Great job, Jake Montgomery. Great job, Brian Mungia. We will discuss more about, name that tool. Knicks pregame next. Knicks and the Warriors. See you tomorrow night at 7. Carlin out. Stay handsome.
Good stuff, Chris, man.
All right, brother.
That was great.
Have a good night, Chris.
Thanks. See you guys.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.